So, welcome, Cheryle. Um, just a little introduction about yourself. You're a member of the Muskeg Lake Cree Nation, Treaty 6 in Saskatchewan. You reside in Calgary, Treaty 7, since 93. You're a mother of two and a cookum, or grandmother of five beautiful grandchildren. You have a BA in communications as well as Canadian Native Studies. You have a diploma in advertising and public relations, and you were also a corporal in the Canadian Air Force and received an honorable discharge after 5 years of service. You have worked with CBC English Radio and Television, the National Film Board of Canada, and the National Aboriginal Health Organization. You have I almost say dedicated relationship with Unison. You've done a number of programs and presentations here for all of us at Unison, specifically in the Kirby Center location here in Calgary. And I don't think I've even covered a third of everything that you're involved in the Canadian community as a whole. So first off, thank you for your service and for everything that you're doing and have done and are continuing to do. You have a great passion. So what is it about the work you do that drives you?
Well, I've always been wanted to be of service, and I may be retired, but that doesn't mean I stop working. I'm just busier because I'm doing what I want to do and what Creator has put in front of me to do. So I'm very blessed to share Indigenous teachings and ways of knowing and open people's hearts because that's how you open their minds. So that's really what my focus is.
Excellent, good. Okay, so the aim of this presentation is to foster understanding and appreciation and dialogue around spiritual and cultural and historical aspects of the land um, with seniors in the Unison community. So I would like to welcome you and thank you for sharing your insights and teachings with us. And I will hand the reins over to you.
Thank you so much. I'm so grateful. And that was very well done. Thank you. I appreciate that, Heather. As Heather mentioned, my name is Cheryle on my taxes. My Cree name is Nanantwe Esquayo Yahokapimotet. I am healing woman who walks far. I was gifted that in the sweat lodge ceremony. I'm very glad to be able to share a beautiful presentation with you today that I've called Land and Spirit. And I wish to acknowledge you first in my way, which is with a song. My song is Miasin, which means beautiful in Cree, and it honors your beautiful spirits that you have brought here at this time to share with me. Normally, when I share my songs, I sing them in rounds of 4 to honor the teachings of the medicine wheel, but this song is special, and I sing it in 3 rounds to keep it open and inclusive and make sure that each and every one of you and your beautiful spirits, wherever and whenever you may be joining us, are welcomed and know that you are appreciated. This is Me Yasin, the Cree Welcome Song. It was written by Joseph Nato Howe of Sturgeon Lake Cree Nation, Treaty 6 in Saskatchewan, probably a cousin. And I always honor where my songs come from. And this one's very special because it starts it off in a very good way, honoring beautiful spirits of each and every one of you, and spirit that we invite to participate as we look at these land and spirit connections. This is Me Yasin, the Cree Welcome Song. Miyasin, miyasan, asamina, asamina, epa. Miyasin, miyasan, asamina, asamina, epeta kote, giwagomagan, ota, oma, kitaskino. Miyasen, miyasan, asamina, Asamina epeta kote giwagomagan ota oma piatima miyasen miyasan asamina asamina epeita kote giwa gomagan ota oma kitastino. Welcome to each and every one of you and your beautiful spirits. I am blessed and honored to be able to share with you today some information which honors my Blackfoot elders who have guided me on this road to Aboriginal spirituality, the Red Road, as we call it. In our Indigenous ways of knowing, when we say all my relations, we mean all my relations. All my relations means that's two-leggeds, that's people, the four-leggeds, the animals, the winged ones, the birds and the insects that fly. It also means the inhabitants of our rivers, lakes, and oceans, the water animals, the water plants. It also means the standing people or the plants and the trees. It also means the creepy crawlies under the ground, which keep our earth alive. It means our waters, which is the lifeblood of our Mother Earth. And our largest relation that we know of is our mountains, the grandfathers, we call them. Not to be forgotten is our beautiful Mother Earth, who is indeed our best relation and provides us everything that we need, want, or thrive upon living on this beautiful Mother Earth. We honor all my relations. And I wish to honor my Blackfoot teachers by sharing today some of the Blackfoot sites here in southern Alberta. When we talk about Treaty 7, we acknowledge that we are here on the land of the Treaty 7 people, the Blackfoot from Siksika, Kainai, and Piikani. Piikani North in Canada and Piikani South in the United States. We also honor the Dene people from Tsuut'ina, the Beaver people. We also honor Eyehe Nakota, the Stoney people from Morley, Chiniki, Bearspaw, and Goodstoney First Nation. We also acknowledge that we are on the land of the Métis Nation of Alberta. Calgary is situated in districts 5 and 6 in the regions of the Métis Nation of Alberta. It's important to acknowledge the people who were here first, the original inhabitants of this land, for I too am a visitor to this land as I hail from Treaty 6. I invite you to come on this journey with me to learn about the sacred sites here in southern Alberta that are acknowledged by the Blackfoot people. First off, let me talk about the medicine wheel. What is a medicine wheel? Imagine a big pizza cut into four. There's four quadrants. That's basically the symbolism of a medicine wheel. There are many different interpretations and meanings in the medicine wheel, and I wish to share this slide presentation with you in a good way, and we can talk about that. This is the medicine wheel. East, south, west, north. It honors the teachings of the four directions. The circle is all that encompasses. It has no beginning and no end. Each of the quadrants have significance, and I wish to share a specific site with you here in Calgary. As you can see, this is the Blackfoot Nation, which is considered four different nations: Siksika, Kainai, Piikani North, and Piikani South. This is the recognition of the Siksika Itsitapi, the real people, as the Blackfoot people call themselves, the Blackfoot Confederacy. Up on Nose Hill, there is a consecrated medicine wheel that was built there in 2015, June of 2015, on the east side of Nose Hill Park, right here in Calgary. The wheel takes the shape of the Siksika Itsitapi loco. Centuries ago, the First Nations people used Nose Hill as a lookout spot to keep watch over the rolling land below. Old stone circles, once used to hold down teepees, are still scattered about the hillside, and some of these stones were used to construct the Blackfoot Confederacy medicine wheel. The Blackfoot Confederacy medicine wheel honors the 4 members of the Piikani Confederacy: Siksika, Kainai, North Piikani, and South Piikani, which is across the border in Montana, where the Blackfoot people are called the Blackfeet by the Americans. This specific site is open to the public, and you are welcome and invited to offer tobacco at the central cairn. You would enter the circle from the east side where the sun rises. Go to the center cairn to make your offering and do your prayer, and then exit by the west side, walking towards where the mountains are. This shows respect and appreciation for the Blackfoot people who constructed this and the elders who have guided the instruction that goes along with this medicine wheel. It shows respect for the Blackfoot teachings, the elders, and indeed the ancestors. These are recent offerings of tobacco, cloth, medicines such as sweetgrass, and can be seen at many of the sites of medicine wheels all around Alberta. There are over 40 medicine wheel sites that have been recognized within the province out of the 73 that have been discovered in North America. Many of these sites are still considered sacred and used for teaching, and we would humbly ask that you respect these sacred places as they are sacred to the Indigenous people here in Alberta. People are asked not to disturb the stones, but the circle and the ability to offer is open to everyone. A medicine wheel consists of at least 2 of the following 3 traits: a central stone cairn where offerings are placed, 1 or more concentric stone circles, and 2 or more stone lines radiating out from the central point. Using this definition, there are actually 46 recognized medicine wheels in Alberta. The Majorville medicine wheel is referred to as Iniskim Umapi by the Blackfoot people. This is located west of Calgary on private land, just west of Siksika Blackfoot Nation. This wheel contains an enormous cairn, 9 meters in diameter, surrounded by a stone circle 27 meters across. It has 28 spokes which link the circle to the central cairn. This site is known as the Stonehenge of North America, or Canada's Stonehenge. Iniskim-Umapi, the Majorville medicine wheel, which has that very large central cairn. It was partly excavated in 1971 by the University of Calgary. The excavation yielded artifacts which archaeologists can date by style and carbon datings of the offerings. The style of the spear points and the arrowheads changed in a regular manner over time, and archaeologists have figured out the sequence of these changes. The central cairn at the medicine wheel center has been carbon dated to over 5,200 years old, and they only went halfway down when they were doing their research. This means that this site is older than Stonehenge in England and older than had been dated the pyramids in Egypt. The Majorville medicine wheel, or Iniskim-Umapi, is located south of Bassano and west of Siksika Nation. It is situated 2 kilometers above sea level on a height of land with an expansive view of the surrounding prairie landscape just west of the Bow River in southern Alberta. Please be advised that this site lies on private land, and the landowner has actually put up a fence to keep the cattle out and protect the site. There is an interpretive sign if you do manage to find your way there. Indeed, I was able to see it last year, being guided by folks from the Blackfoot Crossing site, where the Treaty 7 had been signed. The Iniskimo is still used today for ceremony and teaching, and it's a beautiful site. You can really feel spirit when you're on this site. Okotoks means big rock in Blackfoot. Big rock is an enormous glacial erratic, an 18,200-ton boulder transported from the Jasper National Park mountains. This rock sat on top of a glacier between 10,000 to 30,000 years ago. Far from its mountainous place of origin, it was sent down by a rock slide, and then a glacial sheet of ice moved it to its present-day location, just west of the town of Okotoks, which is south of the city of Calgary. There is a Blackfoot legend. One hot summer day, Nappy, the supernatural trickster of the Blackfoot people, rested on a large rock because the day was warm and he was tired. He spread his robe on the rock and he rested. He told the rock to keep the robe in return for letting Nappy rest there. But suddenly, the weather changed, and Nappy became cold as the wind whistled and the rain fell. Nappy asked the rock to return his robe, but the rock refused. Nappy got mad and just took the robe. As he strolled away, he heard a loud noise, and turning, he saw that this rock was rolling after him. Nappy ran for his life. The deer, the bison, and the pronghorn sheep were Nappy's friends, and they tried to stop the rock by running in front of it, but the rock just rolled right over them. Nappy's last chance was to call upon his friends the bats for help. Fortunately, they did better than their hoot neighbors did. The bats dove at the rock, colliding with it, and finally one of them hit the rock just right, and the rock broke into two pieces. This is Writing on Stone Provincial Park, which is located along the Milk River in southern Alberta. Its Blackfoot name is called Ai Siniyapi, which means to mark or to draw. This is what the ancestors left behind. Writings and pictographs carved into the sandstone, dating back to 1800 BC. It is the most significant concentration of protected First Nation petroglyphs, which are rock carvings, and pictographs, which are rock paintings, on the Great Plains of North America. Blackfoot elder Martin Heavyhead had heard stories about the petroglyphs to the east of his home, about how travelers would stop to look at the paintings on the stones. Elder Martin Heavyhead shared, if they saw good pictures, they would keep going. If they saw bad ones, they might turn back, as that was considered a bad omen. The grandfathers told us all there was to know about writing on stone. Thanks to the perseverance and tenacity of Blackfoot elder Martin Heavyhead, the 1,100-hectare area around Writing on Stone Provincial Park in Alberta has been named a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Chief Mountain, Nina Ai Stako in Blackfoot, is about almost 10,000 feet high, located in the United States state of Montana on the eastern border of Glacial National Park and on the Blackfeet Indian Reservation, and can be seen quite clearly from Alberta. Chief Mountain has been a sacred mountain to Native American tribes for hundreds of years. The mountain was seen by white explorers in the late 18th century and was known as King's Peak on maps produced in the United Kingdom in 1795. There is a story that the Blackfoot tell about Chief Mountain. Many years ago, a young Piikani warrior was noted for his bravery. When he grew older and more experienced in war, he became the war chief for a very large band of Piikani warriors. A little while after he became the war chief, he fell in love with a girl who was in his tribe, and they got married. He was so in love with her that he took no other wives, and he decided not to go on war parties anymore. He and his wife were very happy together. When they had a baby, they were even happier then. Some moons later, however, a war party that had left his village was almost destroyed by the enemy. Only 4 men came back to tell the story. The war chief was greatly troubled by this. He saw that if the enemy was not punished, they would raid his Piikani camp. So he gave a big war feast and asked all of the young men to come to it. After they had all eaten their fill, the war chief arose and said to them in solemn tones, "Friends and brothers, you have all heard the story that our 4 young men have told. All the others who had gone out from our camp were killed by the enemy. Only these 4 have come back to our campfires. Those who were killed were our friends and our relatives. We who live must go out on the warpath to avenge the fallen. If we don't, the enemy will think that we are weak and that they can attack us unhurt. Let us not let them attack us here in our own camp. I will lead the party on the warpath. Who here will go with me against the enemy that has killed our friends and brothers?" A party of brave warriors gathered around him, willing to follow their leader. His wife also asked to join the party, but he told her to stay at the camp. "If you go without me, you will find an empty lodge when you return," she said. The chief talked to her and calmed her down, and finally convinced her to stay with the women, the children, and the old men at the camp at the foot of a high mountain. Leading a large party of men, the chief rode out from the village. The Piikani met the enemy and defeated them, but their war chief was killed. Sadly, his followers carried his broken body back to the camp. His wife was crazed with grief. With vacant eyes, she wandered everywhere, looking for her husband and calling his name. Her friends took care of her, hoping that eventually her mind would become clear again and she would return to normal. One day, however, they could not find her anywhere in the camp. Searching for her, they saw her high up on the side of the mountain, high above their camp. She had her baby in her arms. The headman of the village sent runners after her, but from the top of the mountain, she signaled that they should not try to reach her. All watched in horror as she threw her baby out over the cliff and then herself jumped from the mountain to the rocks far, far below. Her people buried the woman and her baby there among the rocks. They carried the body of the chief to that place and buried him beside them. From that time on, the mountain towers above the graves and was known as Minostaku, the mountain of the chief or chief mountain. If you look closely, you can see the face of the mountain, the figure of the woman with the baby in her arms, the wife and the child of the chief. The peak is easily seen from Montana and Alberta due to the rapid 1,500-meter altitude gain over the Great Plains, which are immediately east of the mountain. Chief Mountain is officially in Glacier National Park. I hope that I've been able to provide some insight into the connection between the Blackfoot people, the Siksika-Nitsitapi, the land and the spirit, the interweaving of place and space, culture and people, stories and memories, and time immemorial. I thank you for your kind attention, and I ask that you may treat these sacred places with respect and appreciation for the Blackfoot people who have kept them sacred and available for us to be able to join in this modern day and age. Thank you very much. Kinanis Gomitin, I am grateful.
That was beautiful. Thank you. That was really beautiful. We do have some questions. So in what way does the land serve to teach or guide Indigenous cultures? Are there specific lessons or wisdoms that the land imparts to the community?
The land is integrally connected to spirit. And especially just as an example, the Blackfoot people, their land is sacred. The Blackfoot people were called the Blackfoot Nation by other nations because they would follow the buffalo and they were nomadic. So the land was sacred because this is where their food was, the buffalo. And they would follow the buffalo even through grass fires that left the earth charred and black. And they would traipse through, getting their moccasins and their feet blackened by the char. Other nations would see them and look at them and look at their feet. Oh, you must be the Blackfoot people, or as they say in the States, the Blackfeet people. And this is how they became known as the Blackfoot people to other nations. But they call themselves the Siksikaititapi, the real people of the land. So they are integrally connected to the land, and they return to the land upon passing. They become dust as well.
Okay. And how has the historical disruption of Indigenous communities' relationships with their ancestral lands affected their spiritual practices and beliefs?
In many cases, the division of the land into reserves and into a non-Indigenous land for settlers, for cities, for the building of the railway, cut them off from their connection to their land. For them, there are no boundaries. The land belongs to all. Just as the Blackfoot Nation crosses into the United States, there is no border there for the Blackfoot people. They all speak the same language, the Siksikaititapi, and call themselves the real people. So these borders are basically social constructs. And because of laws and rules, the Blackfoot Nation has to follow these rules and are limited to their access. However, they still believe that the land provides everything that they need to thrive and survive. They still hunt, they still pick their berries, sacred medicines, and indeed, here in Calgary, we pick medicines up on Nose Hill and in the area surrounding the parks here in Calgary. And we're very blessed because we have those sacred teachings to be able to pick in a good way. We offer tobacco because tobacco is sacred to the Indigenous people. We offer tobacco to our beautiful Creator to thank Him for these medicines. And then we sprinkle the tobacco on Mother Earth because tobacco is a natural fertilizer. And we thank Mother Earth for the gifts of her bounty, for the medicines and the berries and the food that she provides to us. So for the Blackfoot people, for the Indigenous people, there is an innate connection to the land. And borders, those are just social constructs. And the land will be here long after the people are gone.
Yes, it will. Okay. Um, so what efforts, like what ways are things are we doing to reconnect Indigenous peoples with their traditional lands?
There's a lot of things that are being done, and one of them, of course, is the territorial acknowledgement that is now part and parcel of the way non-Indigenous people recognize and honor the original peoples of their land, such as here in Treaty 7, where we live. I myself am from Treaty 6, so I always acknowledge that I'm on the land of the Treaty 7 people. For the people, it has indeed caused some consternation in that in some ways they were not able to access sacred sites before, but now they can. And there is developing an appreciation and understanding and a sharing between the Indigenous and the non-Indigenous people to respect and appreciate the land and also to have it open for ceremony and for sharing for both Indigenous and non-Indigenous people. It's very much about appreciating the land that we're on, appreciating the gifts of our Mother Earth, and appreciating that we are here as family, as relations, and that we are all related.
Okay. Um, how do younger generations perceive and interpret kind of the connection between the land and the spirit in context of contemporary life?
I think there's becoming more education. I know there is because I'm doing education too, but there's a lot more education that is linking the role of Indigenous people and the fact that they have been on this land for millennia, thousands and thousands of years, and they are integrally connected to the land. The youth are growing up and are now hearing those stories. Much of this was forbidden in much of the cultural practices, such as powwow, sweat lodge, round dance, sun dance, sacred ceremonies are coming back to the people. Sacred songs and sacred stories are coming back to the people and being shared with our non-Indigenous relatives so that they too can understand where we come from, each and every one of us, how sacred it is that we honor the past. When we make decisions in the Indigenous ways of knowing, we must consider 7 generations back. What would our ancestors think about the choices we're making today? How would they judge us on these choices? We must also consider 7 generations to the future. How will these choices impact our children, our grandchildren, our great grandchildren, and those yet to be born? We must also consider the present and look at those 7 sacred teachings when we make our choices. Those 7 sacred teachings are courage and honesty, humility, respect, truth, wisdom, and love. When we think like that, consider the past, the present, and the future, we make better choices and we recognize the long lasting impact. Just like if you throw a rock into the water and the ripples come out, we don't know where that energy is going to go. But this makes it have good energy, so it ripples out in a good way. And if there is understanding and appreciation and respect and humility, we stay humble.
I like that it's out and back as well as present. That's I don't think we do that enough. Um,
It's important to have balance, and I think that that's about balance and moderation.
yeah. Um, what advice or insight would you share with individuals from other cultures who seek to understand and respect the connection between the land and the spirit in Indigenous communities?
It's a process of actively learning, choosing to learn. As I said, these sites are available and open to the public, and they do have guides usually in the summertime. I know Okotoks does, and writing on stone. Even in Nisquamimapi is now being accessed by more and more people, and the owner there has actually put up signage so that people can understand the story behind it and the significance of that sacred place. Because more stories are being shared, more music is being shared. The songs, the drums, the dancing, there is joy in celebration, and there is joy in being able to share with between Indigenous and non-Indigenous people. Indeed, here in Calgary, during Stampede, we have the Stampede powwow that goes on for 3 days, right in the middle of Stampede, and that provides an awesome opportunity for non-Indigenous people to learn and absorb Indigenous teachings and the beautiful culture that we have to share in a good and kind way, to appreciate one another as people and as relatives on this earth, and to know we learn more, far more from one another. We have far more in common than we do that separates us.
Side question to that one. For the powwow that's happening during Stampede times, a lot of people that are local will avoid Stampede just because it's too much. Um, what's it like on the grounds during the powwow? Is it like party rah rah, or is it real chance to kind of talk and an experience?
Well, powwows are not only at Stampede. There's powwows
Yes.
all over Alberta, all over the prairies, down in the States. We have a thing called the Powwow Trail, which is dancers and drummers who will go from different powwows to different powwows. And powwows are open to the public, and they are invited to come and share and bring money because we have Indigenous vendors and
Excellent.
Indigenous
Yes.
food. Yeah, you got to
Yes.
have your bannock and stew. You got to have the bannock and chili.
Yes, you do.
So it is about sharing. Same with round dances. Round dances are open to the public. And that's one thing when you see people in a circle in a round dance, there's a smile on everybody's face. It is about joy, it's about celebration, it's about coming together as community, as relatives, and of learning. Every time I go to events, I learn all the time. So it's about being open and hungry to learn, and opportunities present themselves. Just ask, and there's information out there.
Excellent. So the last question here is, how can outsiders contribute to the preservation and appreciation of the sacred relationship?
First and foremost, it's about education. Find out all you need to know. We've got the internet now, so there's no reason why we can't just Google what we don't know. But it's also about connecting with the people of those lands and taking time to listen to the stories of the elders and not to fear to ask questions. There's no such thing as stupid questions. Questions are a good thing. If you don't know, just ask. So it is about having that hunger to learn more and to grow and to continue to grow. And there are many sources that we can access to learn more about Indigenous peoples. And the relationship between non-Indigenous and Indigenous peoples is growing. Understanding is growing. The Truth and Reconciliation Commission has 94 calls to action that all Canadians can take a look at and take some personal responsibility in causing to happen. We've had less than half of them that have actually been reviewed and are looked at and are in the process of being acted upon. So it is about acting as an individual, as a family, as a community, as a school, as a city, as a nation, to learn more and to take that responsibility on as something that we need to know. And we're never too old to learn. Yes, the children are learning it in school, but I also go out to seniors' residences and elders' home, and they want to know too. And people want to know. And I love being able to share. We have wonderful writers, Thompson Highway, um, a dear friend of mine, Richard Wagamise, who passed away. He has got beautiful prose and poetry out there and stories. There are storytellers, Indigenous storytellers right here in our country. that tell beautiful stories. There are books, there are ebooks, there are YouTubes which share stories. There is a Cree uh, man by the name of Wilfred Buck, who is actually an astronomer, and he talks about the Cree connection to the stars. And many of the star stories have elements here on Earth that we relate to. For instance, that we come from the stars, we come from the Pleiades, we are all star people, and that we are all made of stardust, each and every one of us. So it's about that connection to our past, to the present, and to the future, and to recognize that we have far more in common than we do that separates us. And it's important to focus on those commonalities. It's important to focus on what we don't know and be hungry to learn in a good way.
So I know I said that was the last question, but just going on that one, um, is there I don't want to say genre um, so much as a gateway to start somebody's knowledge journey um, when they don't have any idea where to start? There's so much information out there, as you just said. So if somebody is feeling that it's a daunting task, do you have a suggestion for something just simple that they can start with?
Well, we're very blessed that we live in a time of movies and television. And there is indeed a lot of film and video offerings out there, which are easy to digest and can provide a lot of insight into Indigenous ways of knowing and the connection between the Western way and the Indigenous ways of knowing and how we can grow together into and evolve as a species on this planet, that we all have things to learn from one another. Movies are great, television is great, books are wonderful. YouTube is a gold mine of learnings, um, opportunities to share at the library, for example. It's amazing. With the Treaty 7 people, we have a lot of activities and events that are shared. We are currently working on developing an Indigenous gathering place right here in Calgary. So there are many ways that both Indigenous and non-Indigenous can learn about themselves and about how we're connected to one another. So it is quite palpable and quite easy to just grasp these teachings because they're out there, they're floating out there. And if you have the opportunity to connect with an elder, as I said, never be afraid to ask questions. Never be afraid to come and witness ceremony. Never be afraid to participate and enjoy powwows and round dances and sharings and Indigenous storytelling. So you can take it in bite-sized pieces. You can take it as a course of knowledge at the university. They have free courses that provide information and the connection to the history of Indigenous people and to where we are now.
Thank you so much. And I appreciate the time that you spent with us today and sharing your insights and your teachings. We feel very honored that you took the time with us. So thank you very much.
Thank you. And as we say in Cree, I am grateful. Kinanis komiten.